There is a slight difference between serfs and state peasants. Serfs were legally tied to the land owned by the nobles. They were not slaves, but they were not free either. They paid taxes to the noble landowners. Whereas state peasants were not managed by landowners, but instead paid taxes directly to the state, and had a marginally better life than the serfs. A serf could not leave the land without permission, choose another job, move to another city, marry without approval, own any significant property, or refuse their labour obligations. They were, in practice, property of the estate, and their lives were controlled by landlords. Serfdom evolved gradually between the 1500s and 1600s. Why? Because Russia had huge territory, very few workers, and a nobility that needed labour to survive. To stop peasants from fleeing their farms for better opportunities, leaders restricted movement more and more. By 1649, the law code of Tsar Alexis officially locked peasants to their estates permanently. This made Russian serfdom one of the most rigid and extreme forms of servitude in the world. Many noble estates were run like small kingdoms. Landlords had the ability to whip and physically abuse serfs, reallocate their land, separate their families, and send them for military service. By the 1800s, Russia had over 20 million serfs, about 1/3 of the entire population. Serfdom was the backbone of the entire Russian economy and political system. Serfs supported the nobility, who owned the estates, the military, which drafted serfs, the state, which relied on serf taxes, and the autocracy, which relied on noble loyalty. If serfdom collapsed, the elite feared the empire would collapse with it. Other European countries moved on from feudal labour systems centuries earlier. Russia did not, because the monarchy feared losing control. By the 1800s, Russia was entering an industrial age, with an increasing number of railways and factories. It began to develop modern finance and cities started to emerge. But serfdom kept most people tied to the land on which they were born, unable to move freely to work in industry. The entire country was stuck. It was too segregated to modernize, too large to reform easily, and too autocratic to experiment with. Serfdom was becoming a national pressure cooker.